team, I hope you're all well. Today I am here to give you some recommendations for romance. If you did not know, I'm going to be on Team Cyrus with Rye from Rye's Reading Corner for Realmathon in April, and our team is romance team. So I thought that I would give you some of my favourite romance recommendations and go through them with you just very briefly, because I have like 27 books here to go through with you. But I have packed these up into different piles. So I have got some normal contemporary romance, and then I have put to one side the hybrid genre books as well, so that I can go through those with you, because the hybrid genre will get you 10 extra points for your team. So I thought it would be good to put those to one side and go through those with you. And then I do have some darker romance recommendations for you as well, for those darker romance readers. So without further ado, let's get into this, because I do have 27 recommendations for you and it's going to take me a hot minute to get through these. So to start off with, one of my absolute favourites is the Bromance Book Club by Lyssa Kay Adams. This entire series is absolutely fantastic. It follows a group of guys who are reasonably famous within their own right. The majority of them are sports personnel, but there is a country singer in there. There's a couple of other different types of famous guys in the book club. One of them's like a sports manager, I think, as well. In the first one, we do follow Gavin Scott, who is a baseball player, and he is having some troubles at home with his wife in the bedroom, and he ends up finding himself recruited by his mates into this bromance book club, in which they read romance books to allow them to be better lovers and partners to their partner. And I just really enjoy it. I have heard some people saying that they think it's kind of like manipulation, but from my opinion, if my partner started reading romance books so that he could understand what it was that I liked, whether that be like, you know, out in person, in public, like, you know, things that I like to do in our free time, or even in the bedroom, I would not be mad about it. I'm not gonna lie. So I love this series. It's fantastic. It's a 5-star series for me. There are currently 5 books out, and she does have a new one coming out, which is the Regency romance that they read in this book as the book club read during this book. Does that make sense? That book is actually coming out. Lyssa Kay Adams has actually written it, so she's releasing it this year, and I'm very, very excited about it. So would recommend this one. 5 out of 5 stars. Fantastic. Okay, next is a recent read for me and a new favourite, and that is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I'm so excited to read the next one. This one does follow Knox and also Naomi. Naomi ends up coming to town because her twin sister needs help in being bailed out. She's just lost her job and she's got nothing else to do with her time, so she goes to help her sister out. Turns out her sister's bailed, left her daughter behind, and Naomi now has to find somewhere to get a job so she can get some money, somewhere to live to look after the niece that she didn't know she had, who is an older child. She's about 10, I think, and she struggles to fit into this town because her twin sister has caused so many problems in the town, and they are literal identical twins. So basically she's just trying to fit into this town, bring up her niece, and there is a romance involved with Knox, who is a very, very grumpy man in town. And it's fantastic. I absolutely love this. This does have like a dark element to it, so it could be classified as a hybrid genre. It is romantic suspense, so just FYI, in case you were interested in looking into this one. Hybrid genre, romantic suspense. Would recommend. I completely forgot to put this over in the other pile, so I've just mentioned it now. It is what it is. Gave this 5 stars. Very excited for the next one. Next we have The Family You Make by Jill Sharvis. This is the first in a series, and right now 3 books are out, and I have given them all 5 stars. They're fantastic. In this one we do follow Levi and also Jane. They are stuck in a ski lift and they think, well, Levi's pretty certain he's going to die. I think he's ended up with an injury. He's fairly certain he's going to die. He phones his mum basically to say goodbye to the family, and his mum kind of doesn't realise just how bad things are, and she's saying like, you're not on your own, are you? And he's like, no, I'm with my girlfriend Jane, blah blah blah, and they kind of play on it. Turns out they don't die, and now he has to keep up this ruse, and Jane agrees to continue on with it, and it's fantastic. The thing I love the most about these books is that Jill Sharvis doesn't just focus on our main characters. she really goes outside and gives us time with the side characters as well, and they end up then becoming part of the main story, and it's really, really good. I absolutely love it. So not only do we follow Levi and Jane in here, we follow Levi's parents, his sister and niece, if I remember correctly. We follow Jane's friend at work, who also has a thing going on with the next door neighbour, and it's just fantastic. I really love it. The series is called Sunrise Cove, and the books don't follow the same characters. They're set in the same place, so you can read them out of order. It's not a big deal, but really love this series. Would recommend. Obviously that's what this video is for. Next we have a whole ass author, and we've got Emily Henry. So we do have Book Lovers, which is a small town romance, basically following Nora and also Charlie. They are both literary agents, and when Nora gets a call from her sister to ask can they go away for a month to this small town, Nora agrees because she thinks her sister's in a little bit of bother in her relationship, and she wants to get to the bottom of it and help her out. And when she gets to this small town, Charlie is there. They're like rivals. They have tried dating before and it didn't go down very well. Charlie was quite rude, and she ends up, it's the relationship between her and her sister and the relationship between her and Charlie, and I just really, really loved it. I loved the writing style. I thought it was fantastic, and I just had a great time with it. We do have People We Meet on Vacation, which is a second chance romance. We are following Poppy and Alex, who have been best friends for a very, very long time, used to go on vacation all the time, and up until about 2 years ago, they went every single year on holiday, and then Poppy, something happened and it went a bit haywire, and Poppy is now asking Alex can they go on one last vacation together, and it kind of goes from there. I really, really love this story. It's very similar to my current situation with my partner. We have been best friends for 11 years, and I do really love the friends to lovers trope, and I was reading this during a time at which me and him were going through that transition period of friends to partners, and it was just fantastic. I really, really loved being able to see me and him within this book. It was great. And then we've got Beach Read by Emily Henry, which follows two authors. One of them a romance author, one of them a literary author. Yeah, Augustus is a literary fiction author. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. She ends up going to this place where her dad has passed away and left it to her, and she ends up staying there for a while, and next door is Augustus, and they basically end up coming up with this deal that they will write each other's books for each other, but they go through the process of how they would write their books together, and it's very, very interesting. I really enjoyed this one. Does have a relatively dark twist to it, including a cult, which I wasn't expecting, but I really, really enjoyed this regardless. Gave all of these 5 stars and will literally read anything else Emily Henry brings out. I know she hasn't only written romance. I am very, very intrigued to read her backlist for sure, but I do love her romance books. Then we do have The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I absolutely adore this series. It's fantastic. Follow Calla and Jonah. Calla lives in the big city with her mum and stepdad Simon, and basically she gets a call from a woman that she doesn't know to say that her father is passing away. Her mum ran away with Calla when she was younger from Alaska, where her dad lives, because she couldn't do the small town isolation anymore, and she did ask her partner to go with Calla's dad to go with them, but he didn't want to go, so she's not had any contact. Calla's had no contact with her dad since then, and she blames him for leaving them. Now she gets this phone call from this mysterious woman saying that your dad is dying and his last wish would be to be able to see you. So she goes to Alaska. She's just lost her job. She goes to Alaska to go and see him after some conversation with her stepdad, who is a therapist, and it kind of goes from there. She gets off on the wrong foot with Jonah, who ends up being kind of like her dad's right-hand man, and it goes from there. We follow Calla spending time with her father, who is dying. We follow Calla fitting into this, well, struggling to fit into this small town and isolated area, and we follow her and Jonah as well, and I just absolutely love this. I love the progression that you see with Calla as a person. I love the way that you see her and Jonah fitting together, and her and her dad coming together, and I just, it's so beautiful. Heartbreaking at the same time because you know what's coming, but I just love this series so much, and I've absolutely loved it. If K.A. Tucker ever came back to this series, I would not be mad about the situation. Then we do have Helena Hunting, who I have a couple of books from that I have read. Meet Cute is a fantastic book. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this book since I read it, and it's been a couple years, and I do want to reread it. We follow Kaylin Flowers and also Daxton Hughes, and Daxton is a former actor that she totally crushed on when she was younger, and Kaylin is a lawyer, I think, but Daxton ends up needing some help with the guardianship, and Kaylin is going to help him out with it, and the relationship just kind of goes from there, and it's very, very good. It sounds like it's a bit boring, but it's very spicy, and I absolutely love the writing style in here. And then the other one that I do have from Helena Hunting is a series. A Lie for a Lie is the first one in this series. I'm fairly certain it is anyway. This is a second chance romance, if I remember correctly. In this series, we follow different guys from the same hockey team with different women, obviously. And this one is a second chance romance, and there's several different ones. And I just really, really enjoy these books. They're very short. They're very conducive for a readathon. They're absolutely great. And I love the writing style. Very spicy. I just love them. They're fantastic. We do then have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I love this series. One thing I will say about this series is that although we follow different characters in the series, I would recommend reading these in order. I read the second one first, and I will never forgive myself for it. And I say this every time I mention this book, because I read the Happy Ever After playlist. I read the Happy Ever After playlist first, then went back to this one, and I was really fucking mad at myself because this book sets up that entire book with that character. So don't do what I did. Read these in order, pretty please. The third one is Life's Too Short. They're really good. In this one, do check the trigger warnings for this because it talks about infertility, so do be careful with that. But in this one, we are following Kristen Peterson and also Josh, and I really enjoyed this. It's hilarious, it's hard-hitting, it is sexy, and I just really like these books. But yeah, do be careful going into this series. Check the trigger warnings for them, but just please read this one first. If you're going to pick this series up, read this one first. Don't read the Happy Ever After playlist before this one, because you will hate yourself forever like I do. Then we have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Fake Dating by Christina Lauren. Should have took that sticker off. I love this book. I had this book for ages, then I read it, I unhauled it because I didn't have the room, and then I was mad that I unhauled it because I love the cover, I love the book, it's a great book. Following Josh and Hazel, who basically are just friends. They say this all the time, just friends, sounds like me and Andy. And basically they go through this stage of setting each other up on double dates, and they just go from bad to worse all of the time, and they end up just hanging out together and spending way more time with each other while still setting each other up on double dates. And yeah, they end up dating, obviously. Then I do have Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Ashley Herring Blake. I absolutely love this one. This is queer, and we follow Delilah and Claire. Delilah is estranged from her family. Her father passed away many years ago, and her dad has remarried. She has like an evil stepmother who's a shit with her, and then her stepsister as well. They've never gotten on, and she ends up going back to town. Her stepsister wants her to come to her wedding and photograph it for her. She's a photographer. She goes back to town, and she ends up finding herself flirting with Claire, who is a single mother and is bisexual. And I just love the romance between these two. They're absolutely adorable. I love that we get the backstory and everything that happens since then between Delilah and her stepsister, and it's really good, and I'm very excited to continue on with this series with Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, who is Delilah's stepsister. So I'm very excited to continue on with the series. The third one is coming out this year, and I'm absolutely hyped. Then we do have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I don't see enough people talking about this book. It's absolutely fantastic. It's very sexy, very steamy, and I just had a really good time with it. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was at all. I went in with low expectations because the cover does not scream romance to me. It screams like literary fiction, I think, anyway. Maybe I'm in the wrong there, but we follow Eva, Mercy, and also Shane, who had a meet cute many years ago. He broke her heart basically, and she is now a single mother. They are both writers, and they end up bumping into each other again, and they end up having a very steamy, very sexy summer of romance. But Eva is very nervous about the fact that Shane could just walk away again and break her heart again, and she's very anxious about that, especially being a single mother now. And it's really good, very steamy, very romantic. And I loved the element of her having a daughter in there as well, and that playing into it a lot as well, because her daughter is so cool. She's very sassy. I really enjoyed it. Would recommend. Obviously, that's what we're here for. Then we have another queer book, and we've got Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I do have Husband Material, which is the next one in this series, and the third one I think is coming out again, like this year as well. This one follows Luke and also Oliver, and they end up fake dating. One of them is really struggling with dating, and his friend keeps trying to set him up with other people, and it's just not going down very well. And then he ends up being set up with Luke, and they end up coming to an agreement that they're gonna fake date. And obviously we know where fake dating goes. So very nice, very queer, very British romance book recommendation for you here. I absolutely love it. It's great. Then we do have Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. I've read this book twice. I just love the fun factor of this series. It's so good. In this one we follow Georgette and also Travis. Georgette is the youngest in a family and the youngest sibling in a family, and she gets looked down on all the time. She currently has a party entertainer business. She dresses up as a clown and goes to kids' parties and stuff, and she loves her job, absolutely loves it, but she gets looked down on by her family all the time. She gets ignored out of things. She doesn't get told all the information that everybody else is being told, and she absolutely hates it, and she really wants to try and change that and have her family see her as a you know, grown woman and an important person within the family. Travis Ford works for Georgette's family. They own a business company, they own a construction company, sorry, where they flip houses. And she has been trying to get in with helping them with the business, but they won't let her. They don't think she's mature enough, and they still see her as a kid. And Travis, she ends up fake dating Travis. Travis is best friends with her brother. You can see where this is going to go. I love the brother's best friend trope, and I loved it. It's fantastic, very steamy. Absolutely love the series. Love Georgette and Travis. This one is my favourite in this series. There's also Tools of Engagement, and there is a Tools of Engagement's the third one. There is a second one which I didn't enjoy as much. That one was Second Chance Romance. I didn't enjoy it as much, but Tools of Engagement was also fantastic, and I would recommend the series. It's very good, very fast paced. I read this in a night for the first time. Then we've obviously got Get a Life Chloe Brown, the Brown Sisters series by Talia Hibbert. I love this series. It's fantastic. It's diverse. It's got so many different things going on. In this one, we follow Chloe and Red. And basically, Chloe is chronically ill and she wants to start living her life. She wants to get a life and start living her life properly and doing things her own way and being independent. So she moves out of the family home. Very rich family. She moves out of her family home and she starts writing lists of things that she wants to do. And then she meets the guy that kind of runs the place where she lives. The guy that does, you know, the janitorial work at where she lives. And who is Red. And he rides a motorbike and he's dead cool and all of this good stuff. And she starts hanging out with him. And the romance just goes from there. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I liked the element of the chronically ill representation here as well. It was really nice to see, and I thought it was really well done, and I had a fantastic time. Would recommend this series. You obviously knew this was going to show up on here, because why wouldn't it? And then we do have Casey McQuiston with another 2 queer books. So we do have Red, White and Royal Blue. I struggle to say that all the time. If there's an R and a W nearby, I can't do it. Red, White and Royal Blue. We're following Alex Claremont Diaz, who is the his mother is the first lady, so the president and of the US. And then we follow Prince Henry as well, and basically They don't get on, and they end up causing quite a scene in the paparazzi, and they end up, I think they end up fake dating, and then obviously it becomes more than that, but they cause quite a stir with the paparazzi and they have to fix it, and I think they do that by fake dating. It's been ages since I've read this one, but I absolutely loved it. It was so good. And then we do have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which is also queer, and this one follows August and also Jane. We really enjoy the August and Jane here. We've had Jane and Augustus as well. August moves to New York City. She's very much of the opinion that cinematic romance does not exist, and moving to New York City is supposed to prove her wrong for that. Then she meets Jane on a train one evening, and the only time she can ever really see Jane is on the tube. But then she starts to realise that things are not as they seem with Jane, and there is a little element of magical realism going on with this book. So again, this could be classified as a hybrid genre because it is romance but with magical realism in it, and there is a time difference between August and Jane but in the same moment, and it's very bizarre. But I really loved this one. I enjoyed it. I love New York City. I love me a romance. I love me a queer romance. It was really good, and I love the writing style. So again, pick this one up. Okay, so then I have a couple of dark romances that are contemporary. So the first one I have is Flock by Kate Stewart. I really enjoyed this one. We are following Cecilia, Sean and Dominic in this one. You can see where that's going. If I remember correctly, not for the whole thing, but for a portion of it. This is the first in the Ravenhood series. I do have the other two on my shelves. I think I want to reread this one before I go diving into Exodus and the Finish Line, because I can't fully remember what happened in it already, but I know I loved it in the moment. I gave this 5 stars. So Cecilia is going living with her dad, who's been estranged for a long time. He's a very wealthy man, and she is going living with him, but she's got a very toxic relationship with him. She's got a lot of daddy issues, and on this basis she finds herself in a bit of trouble with these boys. So Dominic and Sean are friends, part of this Ravenhood gang, but they're a little dodgy, and she finds herself having a crush on both of them. Sean is very caring and very loving and very sweet, while Dominic is very standoffish and a bit of a bully and all of those things. So 2 very different types of men, but she's got an interest in both of them, and I'm very excited to continue on with this series, and I would recommend. The sex scenes in here are top tier. Would recommend. And we also have Hooked by Emily McIntyre, which is the first in the Never After novel series. This is a Peter Pan retelling, very dark, but not a fantasy. So this is following, oh goodness, when they're back, just Wendy obviously, and also James, and he is very much a kind of gangster. He's very dark. It's a very smutty book, and it's very graphic as well. And he is a gangster, bit of a bully, and he is a rival of Wendy's dad, and he ends up kidnapping Wendy. We've got some Stockholm Syndrome in here. It's great. I really enjoyed it. Not the Stockholm Syndrome. The book was great. I really enjoyed it. Had a very good time with it, and I'm very excited to continue on with the series. But very smutty. Would recommend. Okay, into our hybrid genres. Obviously, Acotar is going to get a look in because it is a fantasy romance. This one follows Feyre. She is the middle sister of 3 sisters. Their dad used to be quite rich and is now very poor, and they struggle a lot. And she's out one day hunting, accidentally kills a Fae. Now, another Fae, then Tamlin, comes to take her away. She has to pay with her life for his. And he takes her away to where he lives, and she has to live with him. And again, a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome. I actually hadn't thought of it this way around before. A little bit of Stockholm Syndrome. Very much a Beauty and the Beast retelling for the first book, and I absolutely love it. It's outstanding. I've read this book 3 times. I never get bored, and I would love to do another reread, I'm not gonna lie. It's a very, very good book, and you probably already know the synopsis for it, so that's all I'm gonna give you. But it's a hybrid genre fantasy romance. Then we do have Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Young. Now I will say, let me preface this before I say anything else, lots and lots of triggers in here, so many triggers in here, so do be careful going into this one. Sexual assault, rape, violence, all of the triggers, just be careful. It is queer. We follow Lee, who is a member of the paper caste. Now there are different types of castes, and the Demon King, I think he's a Demon King if I remember correctly. The castes, the girls serve the Demon King. They are concubines for the Demon Kings, and basically she ends up being picked every 8 years. Girls are picked to become part of the castes, and she ends up being picked, and it's basically her going through this process, and she ends up falling in love with one of the other girls that's in there with her, and they're obviously trying to break free, and it's fantastic. I absolutely love this. I do need to finish it off. I need to read the last one, Girls of Fate and Fury, but I have read this book twice now. I've read the second one once, and I really enjoy it, but just please be careful with the trigger warnings in this one. There are so many triggers, so just check them out. Do be careful with it, but it's queer fantasy romance. Would recommend. Watch your triggers. Another queer fantasy romance is Wolf Song by TJ Klune. I adore this book. It's so good. I do have another one on here from TJ Klune as well, also queer fantasy romance. But this one is following Ox. You follow him through stages of his life. When he's 12, his daddy teaches him a very valuable lesson. He said that Ox wasn't worth anything and people would never understand him, then he left. When he was 16, he met a boy on the road who talked and talked and talked, and then he found out that that boy hadn't spoken for 2 years up until that point. When he was 17, he found out the boy's secret, and it painted the world around him in colours of red, orange and violet, of alpha and beta and omega. And when he was 23, a murder came to town and tore a hole in his head and heart. The boy chased after the monster with revenge in his blood red eyes, leaving Ox behind to pick up the pieces. It's been 3 years since that fateful day, and the boy is back, except now he's a man, and Ox could no longer ignore the song that howls between them. It's a very good book. I absolutely love this one. I did do a couple of, I don't think you'll be able to see them because of the light, but I did do a couple of tags in this, and tabs in this, and I really did enjoy it, and I'm very excited to continue on with the series. So again, queer fantasy romance, would recommend. The other one from TJ Klune that I do have is The House in the Cerulean Sea. I just love this book so much. It's following Linus Baker, who works for the department in charge of magical youth, and one day he's summoned by the extremely upper management and given a highly classified assignment. He must travel to an orphanage where 6 dangerous children reside, including the Antichrist. There, Linus must determine if they could bring on the end of days, but their guardian, charming and enigmatic Arthur, will do anything to protect his wards. So it's a case of Linus being a very boring, miserable 40-year-old man that lives on his own. His day job is his life, and then he ends up being asked to go on this to go to this orphanage basically and decide whether or not these kids can bring on the end of days, because they will need to be split up and something happen to them if that's the case. But when he gets there, he finds that he ends up really enjoying being around the kids, not only the kids but Arthur as well, and it's just such a beautiful story and I love it. Fantasy, it's got romantic elements to it, so I would classify this as a hybrid genre. 5 stars, outstanding. We do have the X-Hex by Erin Sterling, and then also the second one, which is the Kiss Curse. I think there's a third one coming out, but I can't remember. This is fantasy romance. It is a witchy book, and in this one we do follow Vivian and also Reese, who is a Penhallow. Basically the town where Viv lives, Glengrove, is built on ley lines, and Reese Penhallow is one of the men who, in the Penhallow family, they basically like are in charge of the ley lines, and he comes to town, and they start off as enemies and it goes to lovers, and it's fantastic, and I really enjoy it, and it's great. I really enjoy it. I just love this book. It's fantastic, so would recommend that one. And then just a couple of very dark, smutty fantasy reads, romance reads. I do have Rehearsal to Take by Harley LaRue, which I absolutely love. This one follows Leon and Ray. Ray is a normal girl, but she's always loved and believed in supernatural, and she goes to hunting ghosts is her passion, and she accidentally summons a demon who is Leon, so he is a demon, and they end up, you know, it's just very sexy and some stuff goes down and I don't know what else to tell you. She accidentally summons Leon and they end up getting freaky together, but it's very dark, and I just really enjoy it, and I'm really excited to pick up Her Soul for Revenge, which is the second one, following Juniper and Zane. Zane is mentioned in here as well. It's very good, would recommend. And then the final book that I do have for you is Gothicana by Rue Nix, which just came out in the UK yesterday when I'm filming this. Today's Friday, it came out yesterday. This will be going up on Saturday, so 2 days ago. But it was a indie published and it no longer is. It's now been taken up by a publisher, which is fantastic. So congratulations to Runix for that. But I really enjoyed this one. So this is following Corvina and also Vad. Vad works at Venmore School and Corvina ends up attending Venmore School, and there's some strange goings on. She's not convinced what the hell is happening, and there's some strange goings on, and it's very secretive and supernatural and paranormal and dark and incredibly smutty, and I absolutely love it. So it's got dark academia, romance, smutty, fantasy vibes, and it's outstanding, and I really enjoy it, and I would recommend. So again, for hybrid genre, this would work. So those are the 27 recommendations that I have for you. That was a lot. I am terrible at, I'm a booktuber for God's sake, but I am terrible at kind of giving a very short synopsis of a book without just reading the back of the book. So I hope that those are okay for you, and I hope they make you intrigued, but do feel free to just go and look at the synopsis of them if any of them have piqued your fancy and you think that my description was terrible. Totally justifiable. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed. Chat to me in the comments down below. Have you read any of these? Do you have any recommendations for me following on from these? Are you going to pick any of these up for Realmathon? And what team are you on? Tell me what team you're on. Tell me you're on my team. Come join us on Cyrus, because we're very excited. I'm hoping to pick up quite a bit of romance actually in April, so fingers crossed I can get to a lot. I'm hoping for quite a lot of hybrid genre, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, chat to me in the comments down below, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.